Hi, welcome back to What Weird Angle is Samantha going to film from today? This is the answer. So this is an early video. It's actually not March this upcoming week. It's going to be the last week of February, but I'm putting my Buzzwordathon suggestions in now because one, I have time to film today. We are teaching remotely, so in about an hour I have a class that I have to teach on the other side of the room where I have a nice blank background. So that's why I'm dressed nice up top, but I'm wearing sweatpants and fun socks below because they cannot see anything from the waist down. So that is a plus to remote teaching. But also, I already know what I'm going to be doing for next week's video. My birthday is the 27th, and I will be 29 years old, which is just shy of a really, really big number. And since February in my book buying ban goal for 2021 is a book buying month, I have been going very, very hard with buying books. Like, I have really been stupid with the amount of money I'm spending, but it felt like I should, right? My birthday is on the 27th. I finished my big, instruction part of my teaching for this semester. Today, actually, I finished it today, which is great. Don't really mentally comprehend it yet, but it's great. I should treat myself, and I have really done that. I have really been treating myself. And I've already filmed some clips because when the books have come in, I open them. I'm not going to sit here with a bunch of packages and not see what's in there. But my entire table is covered in books right now. And that's not an understatement. It's kind of obscene how many books I've bought. And, I've got them for a discount, so it's not too bad. And I didn't buy any in January. So, I am listening to myself somewhat. And I'm not buying any in March. But I am getting ahead of myself. All this is completely irrelevant to the actual content of this video. So the Buzzwordathon theme for March is time. So is it time in general, or is it the word time? Give me a second. So March I have as time, and it's actually the word time. It's not like moments in time or different words for time. Every other month in the Buzzwordathon this year is a theme word and then an actual buzzword. So this month is one of the buzzwords. So you're looking for books with the word time in it. I don't have a lot of suggestions for this month, mainly because I haven't read a lot of books with the word time in it, and I only have a few actually that I can show you. And I have one that I will likely try to read, and then I have one that I recommend everyone else read, even if you hate it, because it's my favorite book, and you should have to put yourself through it at least once, at least to know that you hate it. Read this book. So let's look at the options I've got. The first book we're going to talk about I have not read in quite a few years, so forgive me for not really knowing the exact plot, but it is The Curious Incident of the Dog in the Nighttime by Mark Haddon. It's about a little boy who finds his neighbor's dog murdered and sets about trying to solve the mystery. It sounds like a quirky little middle grade, but it is actually very mature. And I remember liking it. I think it was pretty impactful for me, what it actually covers and the discussions that are had between this boy and his dad. And so this will be a really quick read. Again, it's not very long, and it reads very quickly because it's written almost as if it's like journal and diary entries from this little boy, and it's a fascinating read. The next book I recommend, if you're looking for something a little bit more grown up, and maybe too grown up, is The Devil All the Time by Donald Ray Pollock. I think it's Donald Ray Pollock. I read this last year, and it was brutal. Oh man, but it was so good. If you're okay with very violent descriptions of murders and sexual acts and just suicide, trigger warnings all up and down this book. If you have pretty much any trigger that exists, this is not the book for you. And you can look at Goodreads, and I think some people have clear lists of what it includes. But I enjoyed it because it exposes, it has this thing about exposing preachers and exposing belief systems, and I really, really felt for the main character, and I think that's important. The main person's story who you follow was very well done and ended very satisfying. So this book covers many, many decades in the lives of this one family and a couple of different families that touch theirs, and it really does play with this idea of faith and what you believe and what your belief systems are. and it's just, again, it's gross. Like, this book just feels like it have a layer of grease on it sitting on a sidewalk in, like, the middle of July. But somehow I like that. So I don't know if that description does anything for you, you can read that. And on the plus, if you read it, you can go watch the movie on Netflix. It has Tom Holland and Robert Pattinson in it. So that's great. We love that. The next book is the one that I'm probably going to read because it feels like it's a void in my brain that I should have read this book earlier in my life, and I haven't. And it is A Wrinkle in Time by Madeline Engel. And I have never read this. I have never seen any of the adaptions of it. I have never read any of the other books that she's written or that are in this series. And this is a book I have borrowed from a friend. And I have had it for many years. So I'll be reading this book. That way I can finally, again, check off A Wrinkle in Time. But also so that I can give this book back. Because it's starting to feel a little bit mean that I still have it. Does she even remember that I have it? Probably not. The last book we're going to talk about, it's technically more literary fiction than it is fantasy, but it is fantastical in that it talks about a fantastical place. You may have heard about the musical that was based on this book. It is very different from the book. If you are a fan of the musical, you may think, I should pick this up because I like the musical. And I'm just going to prepare you for disappointment. I picked it up because I was a fan of the musical. I ended up loving it. But it is drastically different in tone. You will have many questions, but you may also like it. What is this book, you may ask? If you have not figured it out by now, it is Wicked, The Life and Times of the Wicked Witch of the West. And yes, I am playing fast and loose with the rules here because it's times, not time, and it's in the subtitle, not the actual title. But listen, more people should talk about Wicked. Where are my people on BookTube that have read this ridiculous book? Where are the people who have read this ridiculous book series? The whole series is good. The final book made me cry. Like actual tears from my face. And no one talks about it. It's disappointing. This book is amazing. I have read it many times. And I have not read it since probably 2014. I would love for this to be the book I read. But it's not realistic for my current state in what I'm doing with school. However, you may not have that excuse, and you should read Wicked, The Life and Times of the Wicked Witch of the West, and then listen to the musical, so you can say, oh yeah, this is why they went with those choices instead of what the book did. This is a good book. What can I say? It talks about Elphaba, the Wicked Witch of the West, as she was a child growing up with her sister Nessa Rose and her family, and this really interesting man named Turtle Heart that came to live with them, and her going off to college and getting into animal rights. That's animal with a capital A, animal rights. And then her eventual, seeking more information and love story. And the love story is so sad and poetic in this one. And what happens after the love story is also very sad and poetical. And I just really, really enjoy it. And again, I think it's better when you can read the whole series because he picks up those threads and runs with them in the next 3 books. But this does work really well as a standalone. And it's just an interesting background to a character that wasn't really fleshed out in either the original Wizard of Oz books or the movie. This one takes parts of both of those things and threads them together into this new, unique experience. And like I said, it does read more like literary fiction than it does a fantasy novel, even though there's fantastical elements. It is very much about reactions to things and human experience than it is fantasy. So I recommend this one, but obviously I recommend all the books that I mentioned, or I wouldn't have mentioned them. And, feel free to comment what you're planning on reading, or if there's any suggestions that you can think of that I don't know about. I will probably, again, be reading A Wrinkle in Time, but I highly recommend Wicked. So, yeah, that's it. See you next week with a book haul that'll last way too long because I'm probably not going to be very good at editing all those box openings. Just so many box openings. Unboxings. God. I feel like I look like a little bit like the cover of Daisy Jones and the Sticks with the way my hair is. Like just kind of poofy in my face, which is a vibe.